So I wanted to talk about luck. What is luck? What beliefs are behind the belief that there are people who are lucky and there are people who are unlucky? And do you have this belief? So I think sometimes we end up watching a bunch of videos like this, and then we end up with this idea of ourselves as someone who watches videos like this and who doesn't have these beliefs or sees through them. But it's really just a facade. So you want to burst through that wall like a paper banner basketball player, because it's really not a wall that's solid. It's just, it's fun to see these beliefs that we have and let them go. So, luck, what is luck? If you imagine somebody who flips a coin 10 times, and the first time they do this, it's heads every single time, you might assume first that they're cheating, or if it's some sort of controlled place like gambling, that's lucky. We'd say that's lucky, especially if that outcome is assigned to them winning something from it. And then if things like that happen to them multiple times, you might look at that person as lucky, or they might look at themselves as lucky. We might say that's a lucky person. So there's the chance and circumstance happening within a series of time for someone to be lucky. And then there's another belief of good and bad things happening. So lucky and unlucky. And so this reminds me of the story which you've likely heard about the father who says maybe every single time there's an event that happens to his son. So his son loses his horse and everybody comes to the father and says how unfortunate or unlucky that is, and the father says maybe. And the horse comes back with 3 other wild horses, and now they have all these extra horses that are worth money. And so everybody goes to the father and says, wow, that was really lucky. And he says maybe. And then the son is on one of the wild horses trying to tame it, and he falls and breaks his leg, and everybody goes to the father and says, wow, that was really unlucky. And the father says, maybe. And then there's a war, and all of the able-bodied men are called off to war, and they all die in this horrible battle, and everyone comes to the father and says, wow, that was really lucky. Your son had a broken leg at that point in time. And he says, maybe. So within a story of time, we can't really know where this is going. And so every time something happens to you, you fall off the wild horse and break your leg, metaphorically. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Maybe. You can't really know. And all there is the alchemy of it, or how you wish to see it in that moment. And that's what it is. Pure, whatever you want to call it. We don't know what this is. Pure creation, clear slate. There are no people that are actually lucky or unlucky. However, you can see things in a different light when you're willing to let go of the assumption of whether it's good or bad and who it's happening to. Over the past year, I've really had this lesson kind of driven home, is I made a mistake on my health insurance, and I thought that the health insurance had just gone up so much, and I was really thinking in kind of a negative light about health insurance. And so I had a really difficult time affording it for the entire year. And at the end of the year, I realized that I couldn't continue to do this, and so I called the company to see what sort of options there would be so I wouldn't lose the health insurance, and found that we had made a mistake on how we, like one box that was unchecked that should have been checked for how our taxes were filed. So in error, I paid all of that money. And I did not get it back. There was no way to get it refunded or anything. I lost all that money. But if I had not had the negative perception, perhaps, maybe, I would have more patiently looked into it and seen if there was a mistake that I had made filing, a misunderstanding, rather than just assuming that it was just horribly expensive and it was going to be a major hardship to afford it. So that's an example of how when we just assume something is bad or unlucky or just have, the lens of emotion coloring it, we can't see the little misunderstanding or the little mistake or the opportunity in it. And looking back at this, having lost thousands of dollars needlessly on my health insurance, that's a good lesson. And the alchemy in it that I can take now, and you can laugh at me and say how foolish it is that now I see how powerful my assumptions are from blocking, from seeing what's really there. And that, if there is luck, just being able to see clearly what is without having it be obscured by ideas of people and how it reflects on me. That's what makes this all really hard to sort through. So there aren't lucky or unlucky people. There's just clarity and there's misunderstanding, and there aren't people who have clarity and people who have misunderstandings. It's just here right now.